The Philadelphia Phillies had a solid season last year, going 90-72, ending up with a wild card spot. However, they ended up losing in the NLCS to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Heading into 2023, they look to be making another deep run in the postseason. But how will the 2024 season turn out for them? Let's not waste any time. Let's dive straight into this. My name is Derek. I'm here with Mike. You're watching Bleacher, Brawls, and this is your Philadelphia Phillies team profile. First things first, let's dive straight into key players. I'll hand it right over to Mike. Who were three key players for this Phillies team? And out of those three, which one are you looking forward to making a big impact on the team in 2024?
Yeah, my three key players are going to be JT Realmuto, Trey Turner, and Bryce Harper. I bring up those three guys because, I mean, they're kind of just, to me, it's like the core, right? Bryce Harper, I will forever always say, should have been a Yankee. The dude just, I mean, like, if there's no other player that I think, like, as a young fan who I'd want to play like, you could just tell, like, the dude just wears baseball across his, it's in his veins, like, he wears it across his heart. Um, he plays with some passion that, like, I mean, you watched the playoffs last year. The dude just can, one swing can ignite the whole stadium. And then you want to talk about clutch performance. I mean, like, whenever they needed a hit, he was there, and not just a hit, he was hitting home runs too. So um, he's probably my favorite player. He's probably my favorite non-Yankee player to watch, just because I think the dude's electric. So yeah, those are my three keys.
Definitely. For me, my three key players, uh, I'll bring up Zach Wheeler, obviously kind of their ace. Although he will be a free agent after this year, so they're going to have to resign him. I'll bring up Jose Alvarado just because they don't really have a closer, and out of their current relievers, he had the most saves last year with 10 and a 174 ERA last year. So if he's going to close, they're going to need him to really step up and be that closer. However, my guy I'm going to touch on is JT Realmuto. A bit of a down season last year. 102 weighted runs created plus and just a 1.5 WAR. F WAR, that is. Definitely a down year for Realmuto. It's always been an athletic catcher. Last year, -4 defensive run save. Not ideal. He still has very good pop time and whatnot, and is athletic behind the plate, but he's never been a great framer, and I think that really showed last year throughout the season, him not being a great framer. And I think with the bat, taking a bit of a hit, and you look at two of the last 3 years, it's a 109 weighted runs created plus in 2021 and 102 in 2023. Although it could just be an odd year thing because in 2019 it was 107 as well, and then in 2020 it was 124, 2022 is 128. So it might just be an odd year thing for him, but a little bit concerning considering he doesn't walk a ton, only 6.5% walk rate last year. Though strikeout rate jumped up a tiny bit, back up to 25%. Did steal 16 bases last year from the catcher position, which is a little bit nice, but like overall, not ideal. Like blocks above average, 96th percentile. Pop time, the best in the league. He's a very good runner for a catcher, but the framing was just second percentile, -13 framing runs last year. So as much as we talk about JT Realmuto being an elite defender, he's an elite defender in the sense of you run on him, good luck, right? Like you're probably getting thrown out, but at the same time, not a great framer behind the plate. So there is that at the same time. So he's an elite defender in the sense of throwing guys out, but not when it comes to framing pitches and getting strike calls. Although that might not be needed anyways when we get automatic umpiring, automatic ball strikes. But that's not in the big leagues yet. So framing still is an art catchers need to have. So that's why I bring him up because I do have a little bit of a worry because it's going to be his age 33 season. But he's consistently been one of the better catchers in baseball over the last 5, 6, 7 years, however long it's been. So I believe that he can. I'm believing that he can turn it around and still play a big part for this Phillies team that will be looking to make a deep run into the postseason. And he's being paid like a big part of this team. So he's honestly, I feel like he needs to as well. Let's move on though to key offseason moves for the Phillies, and there's only one of them. It's them re-signing Aaron Nola. That's pretty much been it. You look through their projected roster, and no one knew really. It's literally just the re-signing of Aaron Nola that's been kind of the needle mover this offseason. And I don't know if that's a needle mover because he was already on the team, but they still needed to re-sign him. You don't want to lose him. I'll hand it back over to Michael. 7 years, $172 million was a deal for Aaron Nola, taking a hometown discount. What are your thoughts on that deal for Nola and the Phillies?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I don't think it moves the needle like, some of these other offseason acquisitions other teams made, but I think it was very necessary for them to get it done. That way they can return to, and fight for that World Series win last year. It was 12-9 last year to 4.46 ERA, 202 strikeouts, 1.15 WHIP. I mean, we all know what he can do. I think it was important to sign him to. I think the 7 years is most likely going to probably play the rest of his career in a Phillies uniform. So, um, again, I think it was just necessary as far as like achieving what you wanted to achieve the last 2 years. You've been right at the doorstep of that World Series. I think, getting back there, this guy probably was your number one, as far as, off-season moves. I think if they were in the Yamamoto, I think, sweepstakes, but not really, not towards the end for sure. I think this is what they wanted. And I think they got what they want for sure. And, like you said, it wasn't a, break your back kind of deal. I don't think he was really fielding very many calls from other teams anyway. So it got done pretty early. And I think this is, step one of getting back to where they were last year.
Yeah, definitely. And although they haven't won the division either the last 2 years, they've got the Braves number in the postseason, beating them the last 2 years in the postseason. I think Nola's huge. I've never been the biggest Nola guy, especially like the last couple of years in terms of like regular season. Because in 2021 he had a 4.63 ERA and last year had a 4.46 ERA. Although yes, the FIP was 3.37 in 21 and 4.03 in 2023. Although for his career he's always been kind of a FIP being better than his ERA over his career. But at the same time, I mean it in terms of the regular season because when the postseason comes, Aaron Nola is ready to go and he's rolling in the postseason. So there is that little bit. Like I'm not the biggest Nola guy in terms of regular season because I feel like his regular season numbers have never been like the last couple like out of two of the last 2 years the regular season numbers haven't been great. But once he gets to the postseason, it's like a flip switches almost, and he is Aaron Nola and he's an ace in the postseason, which is extremely important considering Zach Wheeler's in last year of his deal, right? The Phillies lose Nola, and then it's like, oh crap, and now Wheeler's gonna be free agent. Them keeping Nola is a big thing for now, but also for the future, just in case they end up losing Zach Wheeler. I feel like Wheeler will end up staying, but you never know, right? So I think keeping Nola is a big thing for the Phillies, and Nola wants to be there clearly. So I think it works well all around for both sides. Although it would have been nice to see them do a different move, make at least another decent size move, so we would have had something to talk about other than Nola. But I think the Nola deal definitely makes sense for both sides. Moving on to expectations, though, I'll hand it back over to you, Mike. What are your expectations? What do you think the Phillies' expectations are for the 2024 season?
I mean, I think kind of unlike the Yankees, where I said World Series minimum, deep playoff run. I think this one's got to be like you got to make it to the dance. You got to be in that World Series. I think you got to be in the game at least. I think the last couple years, like I know for me last year, my money when there was 4 teams left was on the Phillies to make it and probably win it. So I don't know. This team's way too talented to walk away with nothing. I think with the money they've spent, the people they've given it to, type of players they have, it would be a massive disappointment for them to not to come out with any hardware. So I think it's got to be. I think all those players know it's World Series or bust.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I think it is World Series or bust. I think in some sense World Series bust, but at the same time, like in terms of, I think the Phillies are going to be World Series or bust in the building. I think that's how it's going to be. For me, I think it would be nice to see them, like if you're the Phillies, like if you're a Phillies fan, I think it'd be nice to see them win the division. I know at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if you win the World Series, whether or not you win the division. Obviously, the Texas Rangers didn't win the division; they just won the World Series. The Diamondbacks didn't win the division; they made it to the World Series. Last year the Phillies made it to the World. I mean, not last year, 2022, they made it to the World Series. They didn't win the division. But I still think it would be nice for them to win the division. I still think it would be a nice little bonus for them to win their division. So I'd like to see them win the division in that sense because you don't want to always play second field with the Braves. You don't want to always give up home field advantage because if you're going to play in the postseason, you like to have home field advantage because you got to figure out at some point the Braves are going to figure it out, right? You got to figure it at some point. So I think for the Phillies, yes, it's World Series a bust, but I think they'd also like to win the division as well. Get that one over on the Braves too, and the Mets too, arguably as well.
Yeah, I was gonna just add on that. I mean, you are looked as like because of the season the Braves had. last year in those playoffs, I think the biggest thing the Phillies had going for them was experience. Those guys have all been there before. Now the Braves have too. The Braves had I'm sure they got a really salty taste in their mouth from last year. So, they're going to come back with a vengeance for sure, and they might even win more games than they did last year, which is close to impossible. But they got the talent to do it for sure. That's going to be a really fun division to watch for sure.
Definitely, and I think that's a great place to wrap this thing up on. Great spot. Thanks for tuning into this Philadelphia Phillies team profile. Make sure to check out all the links in the description. Phillies fan, let us know your thoughts in the comments. For Mike, my name is Derek. Thanks for tuning into Bleacher, Brawls and this Phillies team profile, and we'll see you next time.